Come along, children. Now we're going to have a little music.
What is up, y'all? We are back on First Cut to bring you a new review of the new Disney Pixar movie, Soul. Soul is coming from Pixar, particularly from director Pete Docter, who's responsible for other Pixar hits like Monsters, Inc., Up, and Inside Out. He's also, and Pixar is obviously famous for Toy Story and all these other big projects as well. But this one was highly anticipated. It was supposed to come out in June 2020, actually on my birthday. I think it was supposed to come out June 16th, and my birthday was June 17th this year.
Wow.
Yeah, but unfortunately got pushed back to Christmas Day on Disney Plus. Sabrina, what are your initial thoughts?
Oh my gosh. So I actually remember talking about this film with you a lot earlier in this year. Obviously, once it still had its release date, and we kind of saw the first trailer for it. And I don't like to watch trailers too much, but that trailer was really great because it really didn't give away a lot of what the film is. It just gave us a glimpse of how much like heart and soul it was gonna have. And so once I watched the film, I was absolutely blown away. This is easily one of my favorites of the year. It would be crazy to not get like nominated for a Best Picture or something like that. I feel like there is absolutely so much to find in this film that is beautiful, heartfelt. I think can resonate with so many people of all ages. I feel like when we think of Pixar, we think of animated, and more so like a general movie-going audience, we think of for children. And that's not the case at all. Can children watch and enjoy this? 100%. But I feel like adults are going to be the ones that get the most out of it because of the specific message that this one carries and just how well and beautiful it really displays that message. So I am beyond floored by how moved I was with this film. I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, I was really moved by this movie as well. This is absolutely one of, well, I think in a year of slim pickings, it's kind of hard not to say it isn't one of my favorite movies of the year. But I think in a normal year will be too, because I think it was really resoundingly well made across the board. And of course, you talked about like the trailer and like seeing the trailer and all that kind of stuff. And the trailer didn't reveal a lot, but this review is going to reveal a lot. So I'm letting people know right now, if you are watching this review, now's the time to stop watching. If you're watching this review and haven't watched Soul, now's your time to stop, because we're going full spoiler territory. I feel like it would be tough to like write a full in-depth review about the movie without getting into some spoiler territory. Especially after seeing it, and I actually saw it 3 times over since it came out, so I'm really enjoying it. But yeah, so we're going into spoilers, and I love this movie. I was really moved by it. The second I saw it, I knew exactly what the controversy was going to be like when it. I mean, there's not controversy to it, but there's a tiny bit of backlash that's been going on, with Soul, and that particularly comes with the choice that they made in the second act. Now, when you talk about the trailer, it's funny because the trailer literally only shows you things from like the very beginning. Like, I think almost from the first trailer is literally just like the first opening credits, like before the opening credits, like the cold open, like, which I thought was fascinating. They had a really like extended like cold open before you even got into the credit sequence, and then you're like, oh wow, this is how this movie's like starting. This is a really existential, like deep way to like start a kids film, right? Yep. And then, but all of that we saw in the trailer, so that wasn't surprising. But what was surprising is when he gets back to Earth, and he and Tina Fey's character 22 actually end up landing. 22 ends up landing and Joe's body and Jamie Foxx's body, his character's body, and Joe ends up inside of a cat. Now, they didn't show this cat in like any trailers. Like, I think they added it to the poster like at the last second. But to me, that was the most surprising part. And I thought, wow, they completely like hit that. And I knew as soon as that happened, that was gonna be controversy, because hey, it's like the idea of like, for one, it's like the idea of a white woman inside of a black man's body, and it's also the idea of black people hating cats. And it's funny because like he even says in the movie like, I hate cats. But not all black people hate cats. That's not true at all. It's just a stereotype. But it's just funny. It was just funny seeing that like portrayed like in this film. But that being said, I had a little thread about it that I tweeted out the other day about how I felt about the body switching aspect of it. And I thought it was good because I think that the body switching device in movies is used for characters to have like a sense of enlightenment, to have a sense of self-awareness when they like see their reflection or look at themselves in the mirror, like how they are going to like how they see themselves and how the outside world sees them. I think that's a very crucial theme to incorporate into a kids movie, especially for something that is so deeply centric on art and being artistic and all that stuff. I think it's a brilliant thing to like kind of add in as a greater extension of the metaphor of, yeah, you can't just think about yourself. It's not just a singular identity you identify as. So for me, I really love that part of it. And, you know, we're going to talk about other parts of the film too, but yeah, that twist, you know, I know people aren't fans of it, but I was personally a pretty big fan of it. So.
And I feel the same way. I echo a lot of what you say. I think in a particular story like this, when the protagonist is learning a lesson, sometimes you kind of have to have that out of body experience to be able to witness those moments and really get the full weight of it when you're not living in it technically. You're watching somebody else live it like through you, and he's feeding 22 some of the words that he means. And as that conversation flows, like we get the particular scene with his mother, it's something that he gets to see from an outside perspective and see the weight of every person's emotions in that moment. His mom's emotions, his own. It's not clouded by one or the other. And it's something that I do think is really important and is so interesting to see in a film this way. I just love the dynamic. Speaking of 22, these two characters, I think I love the aspect of like 22 is doing everything in her power to not come to Earth, and then he's doing everything in his power to come back. And it's that dynamic of like switching back and forth, and then once they do come to Earth, she's a person and he's the cat. And I just enjoyed a lot of that aspect. I think they learn so much from each other. And talking about the opening, how you kind of mentioned it, obviously we see him in a position where he's obviously a musician and he has particular dreams, and what he's doing right now is teaching to other children, and it's kind of something on the side that he was doing part-time. He gets offered a full-time position, and we could see from the look on his face immediately that it's like, oh dang, I'm stuck in this loop. This is not exactly what I wanted my career to end up like. This was just something I was doing as I was working towards a different goal. But either way, both of those have to deal with his passion of music and his love for music. And so he kind of obviously has a particular feeling when he gets offered the job as a teacher. And it's just interesting how much he obviously mentors 22 and that dynamic of their relationship. And we really do see how he is such a great teacher and he's such a great person to share his gift with others, whether it is music or whether it is life. He's giving her all these experiences like eating the pizza or just like smelling everything on the streets of New York. I just think the way they showed that was so beautiful, and giving that experience to 22, somebody who's like afraid to do this, has dealt with so many historical figures, which I think was hilarious. I think all those jokes with Lincoln, Mother Teresa, things like that, those kind of references, I feel like that's stuff that adults will really cling to and laugh at. I know a lot of those jokes are the stuff that like stuck with me, and especially I already saw people on social media talking about the Knicks joke. I just think like that stuff is so great.
Yeah, that was funny. The Knicks joke to me was funny, and you know I felt like and me and a good friend of the show, Dwayne, had like an interaction about it like online too. I felt like a lot of the jokes in this movie weren't even like that kid centric, like especially after rewatching it again. Like there's one part where they're kind of going through like the kids like personality traits. And then one kid's like, it's like I'm an egotistical megalomaniac who's extremely opportunistic. I'm like, is a kid gonna get that? Because I know I got that, and that's really funny. But and then the funniest part was the Jerry. Even after that, I was like, oh, that's Earth's problem. And I just think also the distinction in animation between the soul world and the real world, because like when it's just him like roaming the streets of New York and you know the outside, the real world, like the animation has gotten so like crisp and detailed, it literally feels like photorealistic except for like animated characters, you know. Yeah. And you know a lot of times when it's like that, it feels like uncanny and real, but for here it just felt natural.
And that's the thing, because obviously that animation was so beautiful, but also they gave every single character such distinct features, and that's why it has that realistic feel without the weird uncanniness of like sometimes like deep fakes or VFX or like anything like that we've seen with certain types of films. But in terms of animation, this is definitely super groundbreaking to show all these characters on the street in this way. Everybody has such distinct features. It's not like it's not to shade anything, but like in Frozen, I feel like every single like female character looks a certain way and every single male character looks a certain way. This one, everybody looked like humans. And we're in New York. There are so many different characters, and to see the style of animation going from like Toy Story all the way to this one, it has evolved in such a beautiful way. And this was such a great film to really display that, because we're in a big city. We have a ton of characters that he's interacting with, his mom, the band, his students. And I think they did a really good job of making each character unique and distinct. And so that was really beautiful. All those jokes were great. But ultimately, at the end of the day, just I could not believe how touched and moved. And I know we already said that, but like by the end of it, the experience that they kind of had together, and how when he's able to come back and he's able to finally do his show, his big break, the thing that he's wanted his entire life. And we just got the interaction with his mother about his father, and how his father was always searching for that 24/7, and it ended up not panning out for him. And it ends up in a different way for our character. And afterwards, he doesn't even feel as fulfilled as he thought he was going to feel. And that's where we get into this soul world and this real world, where we're talking about spark and we're talking about passion and what makes life worth living. And we have those things that carry us and alleviate the weight of life. But that's not ultimately the only thing. It's everybody around you. This isn't a huge part, but they even make references to like a woman that he had in his life that's like the one that got away. Lisa, yeah. They keep like mentioning her on the low a little bit. And I think when you see something like that, this is one of those things where you're like, I don't want to let go of some of the biggest pieces of my life just for one thing. There are ways, like his teaching career, there are ways to incorporate the things that you love without striving so much for it that you lose everything else, and you do believe genuinely that the only thing that will make you happy is this one thing. Because there are so much in the world and there's so much in life to be happy about. And with 22, like the pizza, the way she reacts to all these little things, and we all have that. We all have our foods that's just like mood lifting, mood boosting, and just little things that we can do besides our one big passion or spark. And I feel like for anybody who's a creative, anybody who loves something so much and they want to make that passion their career, or they tried and they failed, I feel like this is a really beautiful story, because we're going with him on this journey and we see the ups and downs, and it's kind of a cautionary tale on what truly is important. And so that scene that he had with his mother, like we mentioned, that he's on the outside looking in for that one, I think something like that is so touching and heartfelt, because he's able to finally say his truth and his piece to her, saying like, I feel like if I died today, which technically he's in critical condition, so like he's like dead in the soul world. It's like, if I died today, like I hadn't accomplished anything in my life, or I hadn't done anything, when in actuality, all of us have, because every human has changed others' lives in multiple ways. With his teaching career, the one student that we get to meet, and all of these moments, I feel like they're very brief in a good way, like in an authentic way, in a realistic way. And at the time, he's not realizing the weight of them, and we're not either, because we're just watching it. But then as it kind of sinks in and as it sits with you, that's when the weight of all those interactions really set in.
Yeah, no, and I think that's the vital part, is like when you really like take a second to like step away from the film and like really let it sit on you, like it really, I think, hits harder, because it's funny when you really think about the whole events of it, like all of it really takes place like within like a singular day, right? And when you look at all the characters around Joe, you know, they don't really necessarily change, or they don't really necessarily do anything all that different. It's really Joe who's like the main focal point of change, because he, going into it, he's a selfish dude. He's just an artist who just really cares about himself and playing jazz, and you know, he doesn't really care about the people in his lives or what they think that much. But in reality, and he doesn't care about his students that much. I mean, we meet the one student, Colleen, who's really good at the trumpet, but also his other student, Curly, is literally the one who hooked him up with the job to begin with. And he doesn't, and that's at the very beginning. Like, he doesn't realize at the very beginning, the teaching is what's bringing him better opportunities. Putting out good energy to the world is what's giving him good energy back. But he doesn't realize that even even from the very beginning. Same thing with the barber. Like, he, when 22 asked him, like, why didn't you, why haven't we talked about these things before? And, and he just replies, you never asked. And that's a real thing. Like, sometimes people get so self-obsessed, and that's something that they display so brilliantly in the beginning too, with the whole like lost souls idea, and that like really funny joke with like the hedge fund manager who was like a lost soul, and then he got rescued and just like quit his job and through the computer. I thought that was amazing. Yeah. But yeah, I think all of that is just it's really deep. It's philosophical, and I get people's like criticisms and critiques of it for sure. But to me, I thought it was amazing, and I think on the technical aspect, like the photorealistic, like real world was dope, and then even the end soul world that's more animated is hilarious too. Like with
it was beautiful,
beautifully
animated.
Yeah. I mean, with the colors and the lines, like the use of like the sharp lines, and it's funny. Somebody online on Twitter had made the comparison, but I think this is probably something I actually did look at, is that they probably based it off the Finder window, right? Like the Finder little curved thing with the eyes and the face. Like somebody else, I saw somebody put that on Twitter, and I actually kind of believe it, because that looks like really, especially for Jerry, because Terry, even for Terry, because he was like, let me find the little files. Overall, Soul's one of my favorite movies so far this year, and 100%. I hope people who, are at home and looking for something to watch and looking for something motivational and just inspiring for kids and adults, but I think for adults even more so, definitely check out Soul this holiday season.
Yeah, I think in a year where a lot of people have gone through a lot of hardships, and especially anybody who's really working towards a specific goal. Of course, we've had a lot of creatives are out of jobs. A lot of people are out of jobs in specific ways. I think this is something that's super uplifting and can remind you really what to be grateful about, and to continue for sure loving your passions and wanting to implement those into your life as much as possible. And in this way, we kind of have this ambiguous ending. Of course, he sacrifices essentially his own life. What he thinks is that he's not going to make it back, so that 22 can go out and live their life and make their own decisions and become the person that they're meant to become. And I just think that's really great. And of course, we get him back, and it's ambiguous to the point where we don't know what he's going to do, what's going to happen exactly. And I love that aspect of it, because I did hear about some alternate endings that they wanted to add for this one, but I just like it. We're attached to these characters. We can kind of think whatever we want. We can like pretend that they maybe reunite one day, or not. But shout out to all of the voice actors in this film. Honestly, we have Jamie Foxx killing it. We have Tina Fey, Angela Bassett, Graham Norton, a lot of really great people. Rachel House, who is so great, was Terry. So I thought that was really funny. But yeah, just the way this film was wrapped up, I can't recommend it enough, especially at like clocking it in an hour and a half. That is the perfect amount of time to tell the specific story and to really have it hit home without any extra fluff or detail. It's so tight, it's so concise, and it's just such a good time. And also the score and the music is honestly magical. That like is bringing me back to a theatrical experience. I would have loved to see this in a theater. I'm super happy that we're able to watch it. I hope the good word of mouth really keeps people talking about this film. I think this film has such a great message that can definitely add to its longevity and of how it kind of sits with people. But yeah, putting it on Disney Plus without the price, without the $30 like premium, absolutely love that idea, because I feel like a lot of people can enjoy it and experience this. A lot of people can enjoy it around the holidays, of course. We just finished up, and hopefully a lot of households. It's just a one-time fee. I loved what they did with this one rather than like what they did with Mulan.
Yeah, no, 100%. I would have been really disappointed if they made people pay for this, because I think having this movie be seen in front of as many people as possible is definitely beneficial. So. That's all. That's all from me. Unless Sabrina, you had any other thoughts or?
No, all good. Just highly recommend it. I've already seen it twice. RB3 seen it 3 times. This has such rewatchability. Keep checking it out. Keep loving it. I need this to be nominated for Best Picture. I don't want just animated be nominated for Best Picture. This is easily one of the best things to have come out, and I loved the conversation that we kind of have, and we're on the same page of like animated doesn't necessarily equal for kids, and this film is a beautiful showing of that because a lot of people can really enjoy this one.
Yeah, no, 100%. Same thing for me. I highly recommend it too. And if people got Disney Plus, make sure you watch it. And if you don't have Disney Plus, I'd recommend just get it just for the month and just watch Soul, because I think it's worth even the little $7.99. So, with that being said, I'm RB3.
I'm Sabrina.
And where can people follow you, Sabrina?
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Sabrina X Monica, and then also on Twitter at Sabrina on Film. And of course, make sure you like and subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed this. We got a lot of stuff coming out, some spoiler reviews, some extra reviews, talking about the best cinema of the year. Of course, this will be included in that. And you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at First Cut TMO.
And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Director RB3. Like Sabrina just said, like the video, leave a comment, let us know what you thought of the Soul. And if you like this review, make sure you share it, retweet it, do whatever you gotta do to get more people in front of us. So with that being said, we are here for First Cut, and we are peacing out. Peace out.
Only one can remain.